This is Dan Meyer with RCR Wireless News. I'm here with Dave Newman, who's the Senior Vice President and General Manager for RF Solutions at PCTel to talk a bit about the company. Hey, Dave, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan.
Great.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Very good. Maybe let's start off with a little introduction for yourself and of the company itself.
At PCTel, we have two divisions. RF Solutions provides test equipment and engineering services, and then we also have an antenna division, Connected Solutions. Within RF Solutions, on the test and measurement piece, we're really known globally for our RF scanning receivers. Mm-hmm. So we have the IB Flex, which is geared specifically for DAS and small cell. Yep. It's a very popular scanner. All the operators in the U.S. use it. So that's really what PCTel is known for. We also have other tools that connect to the IB Flex for interference management and spectrum analysis. Mm-hmm. And this year we launched at the show a UE-based tool that complements the scanning receiver. Mm-hmm. So now we can collect UE data and scanning receiver data. That's all fed into our Seahawk Analytics platform for post-processing. In addition to the tools, we have an engineering services group that does both project-oriented business. So we do about 300 projects a quarter, mm-hmm. and that could be in a variety of venues, from sporting venues, hotels, casinos. And then we also have a subject matter expert group that does staffing. Mm-hmm. So for those customers that want a longer-term engineer, or it's not necessarily a project base, we'll provide the engineering staff. Mm-hmm. On the antenna side, in Connected Solutions, we provide antennas for critical or performance-critical applications, mm-hmm. like in building a small cell. We have a PIM antenna that's been very popular for in-building venues. And I think at this particular show, we may be the only company that does everything from the transmission, from the antenna, to the test and measurement and engineering services.
That's a pretty unique solution because you guys do have kind of insight into really almost the whole range of what you guys are working with. I mean, you're not just test, not just antenna, kind of the whole process that you guys have good insight into the whole process there.
Yeah, and those different functions actually feed into each other. Yeah. So we get a lot of direct feedback from our engineering group for products, et cetera.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, well, I guess as you're looking at typical steps in deploying testing for DAS and Divinity, I guess what are some of those steps that you guys look at doing, when you go to kind of these venues and look to test? And also, I know we talked a little bit earlier about some of the stuff that you have seen out there in the market, but what are some of the typical things that companies should be looking towards when it comes to what they should be doing in terms of testing at venues when it comes to DAS and small cells?
So if you just look at the life cycle of a DAS or small cell network, you're going to have the planning up front, yeah. the design of the network, construction, and then the integration, commissioning, and then finally the optimization and benchmarking. Mm-hmm. Now, of those 5 steps, PCTel is qualified for 4. We're not in the construction business. We have a lot of partners that do construction, mm-hmm. but we'll do the design on the front end and the optimization and commissioning on the back end. Now, especially for enterprise customers, mm-hmm. there's really a couple challenges. One is these networks aren't static. So you install a network in a sporting venue, a stadium, yeah. Guaranteed over the course of the life of that system, they're going to add additional bands, additional technologies, want additional capacity. So it's very important for the enterprise owners to understand that it's not just a one-off project. You need partners and providers that can work with you through the life of the project. Mm-hmm. Another issue is the PIM testing. With all these passive components yeah. and the connections, they can generate PIM interference, passive intermodulation interference. And it's important to be able to identify that before you get to the commissioning stage. Mm-hmm. And in fact, about a year ago, we started a PIM and fiber suite group specifically in engineering services to address the PIM. Mm-hmm. And I would say that the third most important item is to keep in mind public safety and FirstNet. Yeah. The systems that are in a lot of these venues now are great for capacity, for a sporting event, to download information, to surf social media. Yep. But the venue owners really need to take in consideration, the higher reliability, higher capacity of the public safety systems.
Yeah, that really makes it really important to kind of make sure that testing is done correctly because, right, that's something that the standards aren't really set for that yet, so we're not really sure what they're going to be. But you have to have that kind of flexibility built into your system to be able to take that into account to make sure that, hey, that's something that's coming down the road. You got to make sure you're ready for that. So and make sure you're working with somebody who kind of knows the playground out there and how it all kind of works together.
I think it's very important to have or to choose vendors and partners yeah. that have the experience. So you want somebody to come in that's going to help, that has experience doing a lot of venues, a lot of different types of venues, mm-hmm. because cost is another big issue.
Always a big issue.
Especially,
Yeah.
with the migration from carriers to enterprise and taking on more of that cost,
Yeah.
you can't afford to have somebody come in, work on the system, and then redo it later.
Yeah.
It's very important, whoever you choose, that it's done right the first time. So
Right.
experience is very important.
Very interesting. Interesting. I guess. And now, what are some of the typical divisions of work between the OEMs out there, the integrators, the venue owners? How's that all kind of split up between? Because again, a lot of interested parties in this, obviously, and a lot of people are kind of working towards the same goal. I guess, what's the typical division of work when you look at some of those deployment models out there?
Every venue is different.
Okay.
And that's why it's also important to have the expertise in different phases of the deployment.
Sure.
Because you never know where you need to contribute.
Yeah.
We do a lot of work for integrators, for the OEMs directly, for the venue owners themselves, so that it's not just one model that fits all
Yeah.
venues.
Yeah.
So again, it's important to have the right tools. It's important to have the right services to address whatever venue needs come up.
And obviously, the flexibility, being able to kind of work with different models, whatever comes up, you kind of need to have that experience to be able to say, hey, we've seen that before. We know how to do that. We can work that model if we need to.
And you save a lot of time on site when you can do that
Yeah.
versus going away and coming back.